Sophie here, and I'm in a little brighter mood today. I won't tell you why. I write an article about that, or maybe do another video. But I want to talk a little bit about hypnosis. So I took some notes. It says hypnosis, theta, and attention. So I'd like to explain a couple of things about hypnosis that most people either won't say or won't know, and obviously won't say. Anyway, so given my experience in altering brainwaves and in altering consciousness, some successful, some not successful, some I was the client, and some I was the perpetrator, so to say. This is what I have to say. So it is obvious to me that in order to access the parts of you that are not accessible when the conscious mind is very active and very alert, and I don't mean the consciousness, I mean the mind. You need to get into a special state. Now, they measure and define these states by brain waves. So brain waves are like the sine curve. You learned it in wherever you learned physics. And the measure of a brain wave, or any wave, is one is what's the height, what's the distance between the two extremes, okay? And the other one is how frequent in a second those peaks and valleys. So it's always counted from peak to peak. So how many peaks you have in a second. So conscious activity, when the mind is running full force, whether it's thinking or dreaming or watching TV or anything. Well, let's talk about watching TV a little later. Maybe I should add that. TV. Half asleep. I shall add too. Half asleep. So anyway, so there is a normal, busy consciousness. The busy human being of the 21st century lives there, and it's between 35 and 45 cycles. Peak to peak is a cycle. A second. Pretty fast. Okay? Then there are consciousness levels under it. I think delta is the next, and there's alpha, and alpha is pretty slow. It's like 10 to 20 or something like that. Check it on Wikipedia. I don't know the numbers, okay? I just know the states. I am not in the business of explaining brainwaves, and you can't be in the business of learning it, okay? I'm going to explain something. So stay with me. This is about altering what's underneath of your actions, which means your subconscious terrain. That's what we want to alter. And then there is the state that's called theta. Theta. Theta, other people say. I am Hungarian. I say the way I say it. Just know I am talking about the Theta state. And it's like there's low theta or high theta. When you are in really low theta, it means it's really low. It's like a hum. It is the closest to the frequency of the universe. It's the hum. And when you are there, you are barely directed by the mind, which means you are receptive. In that moment, the whole mind is available. You can actually access the subconscious mind in that state. Can everybody access it? Yes. Can a shyster, a hypnosis, blah blah blah? Yes, everybody can. Why? Because you are vulnerable. When you were a child, you lived in that state. Most of the time, that's why you were susceptible to the entrainment of the adults who wanted you to be like them. Miserable like them, stupid like them, clumsy like them, joyless like them. You took everything at face value and you made a rule of it. Hypnosis accesses, creates and accesses your subconscious in theta state if it works well. Now, what's the problem with hypnosis is really interesting. You could think that when you are in theta state and you throw in some goodies like you're beautiful or you're skinny or you're not hungry or any of the happy horseshit that goes around, it would work. But the difference between a child in theta state and an adult in theta state is that the child wrote blank slate, which means in their subconscious there are very few counter statements. Sorry, I'm struggling with some stray eyelash. Which means that when I meet an obese, compulsively chewing adult, and I tell them that they are not hungry and they can be skinny, I have to deal with a lot more than when it's a child. So in the case that I'm talking about, a compulsively chewing person mostly doesn't eat because they are hungry. They eat because they need an outlet for their violence. Chewing, the way most people chew, is a violent act. An expression of hate or anger, resentment, frustration, and not an expression of hunger. Which means that when you want to deal with somebody, or smoking is the same way, the way people like suck the air out of that poor cigarette. This is not hunger for nicotine. It's an expression of their violence. So if a hypnosis practitioner, I think that's how they call them, deal with people like they are all the same and they smoke or eat for the same reason, they are buttholes, right? Because what works for one person doesn't work for the other. If it's a violence that's expressed, unless you dig out what causes the violence, what they are mad at, where they feel slighted, where they feel like a victim, and we respond with inner violence, you're never going to be able to produce a result with them. Which means that you can only change something that you have access to, but like direct access. Vague imaginings will not make any difference in the subconscious. Unfortunately, I wish they did, but they don't. And that is also the problem with the theta healing modality, is that those poor people who learn theta healing have no capacity to tune themselves into what is going on with the person. And when they interview them, the person has no access to it. They have no idea why they do what they do. I mean, don't. Now, where am I different, without tooting my own horn, is I'm an empath, which means I use your feelings as guidance. I'm going to navigate the treacherous waters of the subconscious mind by your feedbacks. And you're unconscious about your feelings. You're not creating your feelings. You have no control over your feelings, which means you're going to guide me exactly where I need to get to the incident or to the source of the anger that you have. And then I have some power, not all the power. I still need your collaboration, because you still need to relinquish the blame, either self-blame or the blaming of the other person in that incident. So, so that is why theta healing or hypnosis rarely makes a difference. Unless you are a garden variety addict, it's not going to do anything. Now, when it can, in my story that I wrote the article about, where it can make a huge difference is when it works on something completely different, and I have only met one hypnosis practitioner who did that. And the principle is pulling your attention away from where it's stuck, where you're a victim, where there's something wrong with you, and for the most part, there's nothing wrong with you. And pulling your attention to where you are okay, and when you are right, and you know it both in the conscious and the subconscious mind, that you are okay. So some people know they are beautiful, and some people know they have a beautiful smile, and some people know that they sing well, and some people know that whatever, okay, that they are good at math, and some people know that they know how to talk. And instead of being perturbed and guided by what's wrong with them, you bring their attention to what's right with them, and then they look in the mirror and they are going to see mostly what's right with them instead of what's wrong with them. Now here's what happens. When you love yourself, or at least some of you, then you can love your life, or at least some of you. But when your attention is stuck in what's wrong with you, then you can't love yourself and can't love your life. And consequently, you can't be effective. So that is a very important principle, and I have never heard anyone teach that. So just pay attention. Now, I mentioned, and I took a note to talk a little bit about TV and half asleep. So what happens when you are in front of the TV and the pictures, the screen changes very, very rapidly, that you get hypnotized. You actually get into a close to theta brainwave, and they program you without putting anything in, any funny stuff, anything in that you can't see with your conscious mind, except that you are not in full consciousness state, which means you're going to run out and buy the crap. You're going to believe that medicine, Western medicine, cures disease, and you are going to believe that there is something wrong with you, or whatever the powers that be want you to believe. You are going to believe that it's healthy to be skinny, and you are going to believe that men love skinny women, and you are going to believe, if you're a man, that you should have more sex. Why? You're 70 years old and you can't even get it up, but you should have more sex. You're watching too much TV. Okay, so with that, I am going to close, and just know that I have more like this both on my YouTube channel and on my websites. Yourvibration.com and this newest course that I am doing to actually alter um, what runs your life. It's called activatedivinity.com. Okay? I'll see you there or see you here. Just know that the world that hasn't been revealed and is important to you is going to come out of my mouth. Why? Because that's what my life is about. Okay? See you soon.